But like for me, well, I guess I wrote this down, so I guess I'll just go over my overall thoughts with the collab. I will touch on some aspects of the story, so spoiler warning for those who haven't done the story yet. But I mean, honestly, there's not much you're really missing about it. Um, I just wanted to sit down, write all my thoughts down. Hopefully, this doesn't end up with me just ranting. And then, okay, so I guess we'll start with the things I did like. It'll be this is honestly a very short list for the things I did like. So with regards to the design of Saber and Archer, to be honest, I really liked their designs overall, but that's just my personal preference. I know that there are some people like way early that they had their misgivings with regards to how they changed, but that's just personal preference. And with regards to Saber, they did use the generic medium female what is it called, build. So her build is similar to Bronya, Zila. So whether her height is lore accurate, I don't know, especially when you compare her height to Archer's. But anyway, I believe like the animations for both Saber and Archer are really great. There are a bunch of Easter eggs here and there, especially when they're using their ultimates. They go through their full noble phantasm chant if you just wait for it. Also, with some aspects of the gameplay, especially with Saber, it reminds me of NP looping with FGO when you do the new Grail War event that they added. It was kind of cool to see Lancer, but more on him later. But honestly, aside from that, everything else pretty much seems lazy and or uninspired. Like a lot of the collab itself just feels very lazy, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest. And it has like at the beginning when I was playing through it, I was feeling the hype. I was like probably, the dopamine with all of the summons for Saber, the hype, and the long wait finally ended, the collabs here, the excitement. But now that I've had a chance to, sit down and think about it, overall, yeah, there are a bunch of more disappointments rather than things that I liked. So we'll start with problems, I guess. Starting with the story. um, it starts you off with Robin just telling you, basically spoiling what happened with the war. Basically, the event starts with Robin telling you that you won the war and here's the Grail as your prize, and then then goes flashback basically. I was like dumbfounded, but I just accepted it when the story was starting, because I was hoping it would get better. And then as I was going through the story, more and more I started to think I don't see any reason why they called this Unlimited Blade Works in the title for the collab, because the collab's name is Honkai Star Rail Cross Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. But like there's no Unlimited Blade Works, Reality Marble, no Emiya soundtrack, and then the worst thing of all, there's no Rin. Like why call it Unlimited Blade Works when you don't even have the main heroine of Unlimited Blade Works? She's absent. Like what in the heck in this collaboration, aside from Archer, signifies Unlimited Blade Works? Pretty much nothing, if I'm gonna be honest. Archer is there, sure, but there's no epic cutscene where he goes through his, Unlimited Blade Works, I am the bone of my sword, and then with the Emiya track playing in the background, activating the Reality Marble, a very climactic scene in Unlimited Blade Works, and yet it never happens here in this story. I felt like this story could have probably been like it took more inspiration from Carnival Phantasm, but after going through it, I feel like it would be an insulting comparison to Carnival Phantasm. uh, when the Trailblazer perform mana transfer. Oh, I was never expecting that. It would be interesting if they alluded to it in some way, but I was never expecting any mana transfer. But yeah, and then like the whole idea about like the Holy Grail War, like they just keep talking about like the rules. Like whenever they go through the story, they're talking about the rules. What is the Holy Grail War? They keep repeating themselves because they're trying to explain it to each and every one of the individual characters. But the thing is, like with the participants, like with you, the Trailblazer, being the master of Saber, and then all of the other characters being masters, like pretty much all of the other masters except Audie and Scott are pretty much your friends. So I'm like, you have this Holy Grail War, which is supposed to be a battle royale to the death, last man standing, and yet there's none of that for this Holy Grail War. I just think it's like poorly executed. They try to explain it between the part where old Audie is talking to Scott, where he's saying, this is for entertainment. Sure, whatever. Lame excuse. Poorly executed. And yeah, the story just falls apart, like overall from there. And of course it gets worse because like I guess let's talk about the servants. Servants and masters. Adventurine, Boot Hill are the master. Like, so you're the so the Trailblazer is the master of Saber, and then you have Adventurine and Boot Hill, who are the masters of Archer and Lancer, respectively. But then we end up allying with them later on anyway. Sure, we kind of get like half betrayed by Adventurine because we're caught in a situation where we're trying to lure out Assassin. But anyways, that's story specifics. Don't really want to get into that. And then I guess that quote unquote betrayal is supposed to mimic the scene where Archer does betray Rin and joins Medea or Caster in Unlimited Blade Works. Sure, okay, I'll give them that. It's a very reaching comparison, but still. And then for Lancer, he just disappears. And then you see him with the Holy Grail, or standing beside the Holy Grail when the story is over. Like, where the heck were you this entire time? Although I am surprised they didn't kill him. They didn't kill him right away, so maybe that was supposed to symbolize him dying or something. I don't know. And yeah, those three were just pretty much the only fate characters that we see for this whole collab. All the other characters are generic NPCs that nobody really cares about. So I guess we start with Assassin, who's probably the best one among them, who was basically reused NPC Rekka from Penacony, which, I mean, his JPVA performance was done very well. I didn't play on the English VA voiceovers because Saber and Archer don't have English voices. I would have liked to play it in English, but I mean, it was fine. Having Rekka, who is the same JP voice actor as Jill Dorai from Fate Zero or FGO. So, very well. I think of all the other servants, his was the best performance. Then we have Scott as his master. That felt like a joke. Or he was pretty much the butt of the joke all the time. He's probably meant to symbolize Shinji like character, but it was just poorly done in my opinion. Um and regarding Assassin, they have this whole thing where they do, Rekka's Noble Phantasm, where it's like a silent horror movie kind of deal thing, and basically all the characters except Rekka and Scott are mute, and that just made it feel lazy even more. I mean, sure, it was novel for like the first minute, but yeah, it just like as it kept going on and on, it just felt like they were just being lazy. Um, Caster is a generic Penacony NPC, which I believe has the same hairstyle as what's her name from Amphorius. I don't remember her name. The council person. They have the same hairstyle, and then her story is that she is from Penacony and she can't remember who she is, which I guess is supposed to reflect like Archer's state when he was summoned, where he couldn't, quote unquote, couldn't remember who he was. And then Robin was her master. Sure, I kind of felt like I think Sunday would have probably like been a better choice for her master, considering the motivations. But whatever. And then Ryder, they ended up using Misha, and the only time they appeared was like at the very end when everything was over. They had like, and Pom Pom was Misha's master, and they had no role in the war at all. They were just in the Astral Express. Like, sure, they had like a sweet moment where they had some closure, especially if you know the Penacony story. Sure, I'll give them that, I guess. Whatever. But yeah, it just felt lazy. But again, like if you did read the Penacony story, sure, it was kind of sweet in a way, I guess. But yeah, it just felt lazy at the end of the day. And then it was like, what's the point of Ryder in this collab? Nothing really. And then Zerker, I hated Berserker. Oh my god, it was just basically a recycled fight of the freaking Scarab King boss. It was the Swarm boss. It was just old Odie, whatever, turning into into the Swarm boss, and that was it. And it was what the fudge? Like, I mean, you have the freaking makings of an excellent Berserker already, which was pretty much ripped off of Zerker and Ilya, and they have the HSR version, which is Svarog and Clara. I don't get why they couldn't have just gone with it. They were already, it was like so blatantly obvious that's what it was. Why couldn't they have used it? And like probably given a opportunity to make like a collab skin where Svarog has a skin of Berserker, and then Clara would have a skin of Ilya. Ugh. And then further expounding on the battles, like the story battles were just boring. Like, you would fight generic enemies. Sure, you'd fight Adventurine for like a short battle. Didn't really feel interesting at all. And then they relegated the whole Adventurine mimicking Gilgamesh with like a gate of Babylon. They just relegated that to a cutscene, and it was over very quick. And I don't know, like I didn't enjoy any of the battles, honestly. And then like for this collab, they basically just reused assets. They didn't make a unique area for the Fate collab. They didn't make, like, I was kind of hoping that they would have made like like Fuyuki Temple at least or something, right? Like they would have made it like a place that was created in Penacony at least, but no, they're just reusing Penacony. And then worse yet, there's a part where you're trying to relive Saber's memories, and they basically just use the new area, which is what's the name of that new place, chat? The one where that we have in the background. Ides Elysiae. I don't know how it's pronounced, but basically they use this background just to symbolize Britain for Saber. So I'm like, like it just feels lazy, uninspired. So I was like, oh, I guess I totally missed this. But the other thing I liked, I guess, was the Holy Grail War game mode. I thought that was fun. The roguelike game mode, I enjoyed that, honestly, especially as you get to the higher difficulties. The idea of combining class pieces to give, like, you get individual buffs from getting those pieces, and then when you have multiple pieces of a class, you get set buffs. The thing is, it reminded me a lot of the Punishing Gray Raven roguelike game modes like RDF, Recitativo di Fantasia, or Cursed Waves. It was fairly similar, which is probably why I enjoyed it. Because I do enjoy more of the Cursed Waves game mode I enjoyed from PGR. But it was like, and then the reason why I also wanted to bring up that Punishing Gray Raven, because if other developers had gotten this collab instead, I think Kuro Games would have done a way better job. Like, cause like they've made collabs with PGR before. They had the Nier Automata collab as their first attempt. They had 3 characters, 2B, 9S, A2. They made unique stages, had a unique boss battle made for the collab. They didn't recycle things. Sure, the story for that collab was very weak, but still a nice attempt, first attempt from them. And then they had the Black Rock Shooter collab, where sure they only had one character, namely Black Rock Shooter herself. They improved how the story was presented, the battle between Black Rock Shooter and then against Punishing Gray Raven's Alpha character. And then eventually they also had the unique boss fight against Deadmaster, which honestly I was kind of hoping that she would have been also a collab character. But I mean, hey, that Deadmaster boss fight is a very good one, and it's very cinematic. And then with the CN server, we just finished the Devil May Cry 5 collab. We got 2 characters, Virgil and Dante. It just concluded recently on the CN server, and then the global server will be getting it in August. Yeah, so they brought over Dante, they brought over Virgil, they made the story, they improved the story mode, they made the presentation feel like you were actually playing a Devil May Cry game, which was cool to see. And then they did a faithful recreation of the final boss fight against Virgil. It was really done. Like, if you put the boss fights between the PGR's version and Devil May Cry's version side by side, they looked very similar, and both were very fun content to play. They really used the source material very well. And then, like, so now, when it comes to global, I mean, sure, people in CN will probably already be making the comparison, but the moment Devil May Cry comes over to global, I don't know how it would be received, considering that PGR is not as popular as Wuthering Waves, but like, I can already imagine people will be making comparisons between this HSR collab and the Devil May Cry collab. I mean, heck, I could make a video on that in the future, maybe, if I want to, but I don't know. That's an idea, I guess. But yeah, like overall, I guess just to summarize it, I like Saber and Archer. I like their designs. I like their kits. I think they're a lot of fun to play. I just wish they really did more, especially with considering the amount of resources Hoyoverse has. They had a whole year. Well, I don't know if a whole year is enough time, but I mean, still, who knows how long they've had, but they've definitely had at least a year to work on this collab, and honestly, it just feels lazy and lackluster if I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts. I just wanted to get it out there. And yeah, if you're watching the VOD on YouTube, yeah, thanks for watching. And I guess I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye, YouTube. Oh, you know what? I forgot. Just like how the game forgot. I forgot about Lancer in that. Why didn't you make him a playable character? I'll add that in the end.